What's up, y'all? It's Timmy. In this episode, I'm going to answer the most asked questions about the truck cabin camper. So hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's get to it. Welcome to Truck House Live, baby. Here we are in beautiful Girdwood, Alaska, up in the high country. We're up towards Crow Creek Road right now. A gorgeous day out. And I wanted to just take some time today to answer some questions for you guys that you've been asking. So this is my 1996 Ford F-350, and on the back I built just a handmade cabin camper for it. So my number one question is, how much does the camper actually weigh? The camper is obviously built out of wood, which you think would be heavier than a normal camper. Once I finished building the camper, I took it to the weigh station on the truck, and it all weighed 9,650 pounds total, which makes the camper 1,650 pounds. Considering most truck campers weigh between 1,200 pounds and 2,500 pounds, this is actually pretty light. So the F-350 actually holds the weight perfectly. It's not a problem at all. I think part of the reason the camper isn't too heavy is because I chose not to do an overhead cab, so there's no overhead sleeping area. One of my next most asked questions is why I chose to do a non-cab over camper versus a cab over camper. So I essentially had three big reasons why I chose not to do a overhead bed over the cab and just keep it as a non-cab over. The number one reason was wind resistance. So if you have an overhead cab camper, this whole front part just catches a whole bunch of wind, makes the camper a lot more difficult to drive down the road. To help increase the aerodynamics, I did a hip roof up front instead of just a straight down gable roof. That way there wasn't a giant wall catching all the wind up front. The next reason was gas mileage. If the camper is catching a bunch of wind, that means its gas mileage is significantly affected. It just lowers your gas mileage. And the third reason is it just keeps the camper a lot lighter to not have a big overhead cab wooden box extension. Just all in the bed, and then I have room to keep my kayaks, bikes, everything up front, and storage gear. And that hip roof just slices through the wind a lot better and just keeps everything nice and light. Another question that I get a lot is what the gas mileage is like. It's a diesel. In the winter time it gets about 11 miles a gallon. Summertime diesels do better, so it gets about 13 miles a gallon with the camper on. If I take the camper off, I'll gain about 2 miles a gallon. So the camper really doesn't make that much of a difference. So fuel economy is a lot better than your typical RV. Another really common question is why I did not enclose the back porch, or why there's an open back porch on it. A lot of people think it's wasted space. This is why I chose to do the back porch. First and foremost, I had to have a place to keep my firewood and generator and propane. So on this side, I keep my generator and firewood, fire starter, and a small hatchet. It's summertime now, so I don't have my firewood in there. And on this side, I store my propane tank and my battery. I'm still going to build a wall in between them to separate them, and it's all vented, so that's where I store all that stuff. My second reason for not enclosing the rear porch was I just wanted a place to sit outside that's dry and that I could hang my gear. I do a lot of whitewater kayaking, so I wanted a place where I could hang my gear out and dry it while I'm on the road and not have to pull out like an awning out of the side of the car. I just wanted like a permanent dry outside sitting area. The main reason I didn't enclose the porch was because a vehicle that is really back heavy just handles really bad. Poor handling characteristics and poor braking, and I just wanted to keep it as light as possible towards the rearmost part of the truck. So just by leaving it open and just keeping storage for the essentials in the back, that keeps it light. It keeps a permanent dry area to sit in, and that's just what I wanted to do. Another question I get asked is, how do you take a shower? You can obviously tell there's no room in this non-cab over camper for a shower. I do have a toilet right down here, so I can use the bathroom if I need to. I don't have a sink in the camper anywhere, but I usually just set a big pot up here. I do have a faucet that you can hand pump, and I can wash my hands that way, wash dishes, and essentially have running water. Planet Fitness is my #1 choice for taking a shower while I'm on the road doing my thing. I like to use Planet Fitness when I'm on the road because it's really convenient. They're all over the United States and all over Alaska. You can take a nice hot shower as long as you want, and it's only $10 a month. Another great way to take a shower while you're on the road is just using a solar shower bag. So if you're hanging out and camping in one spot and can leave your bag out in the sun and let it heat up, you can just take kind of a rinse off style shower with that. So that works great. And when you're in a pinch, you can just jump in the river and shower off like humans have done for thousands of years. So that's another option too. If I really wanted to do it, I could have fit a super small micro shower in this camper and not done a full-size couch. That is just not my priority. Like I said, it's a lot easier just to go to Planet Fitness or use a solar shower bag or just jump in the river when I'm out on the road doing my thing. Not only does a shower in your RV take up a ton of space in a really tiny area, it also adds a ton of weight and expense and complication to your build. You have to have a massive freshwater tank to hold all that water to take your shower with. You have to have a propane or electric water heater to heat up the water so it's not a freezing cold shower. You have to have an electronic water pump so you can get nice high water pressure and keep it going to take your shower with. You have to have a black or gray water holding tank. That way you can capture all that dirty shower water, and then you got to go dump that dirty shower water somewhere. So there's just a lot to it. So to me, it's just not worth having a shower in this camper. I did actually have a shower in my 1990 Toyota 4-wheel drive motorhome. And I maybe used it 15 times over the 6 years that I full-timed in it. So that's how I shower while I'm on the road and why I don't have a shower in this camper. A lot of people wonder why I did 2 couches and why I chose to lay it out how I did in here. And I just like having friends and being able to hang out with people. 2 couches make it super comfortable, and that's just what I wanted. After living in my last motorhome for 6 years full-time, this is just the setup that I wanted. One of the most asked questions I get on this cabin camper is, how much did it cost to build it? I tell you one thing, it did not cost me $2,000 or $3,000 like a lot of people think. If you think you can build this camper for $2,000 or $3,000, more power to you. Let me know when you do it. I'm not going to tell you guys exactly what I spent building this camper because that would take all the fun out of it and would maybe make you not want to build something yourself. I could have easily almost bought a nice mass manufactured camper for what I spent building this camper. But a mass manufactured camper would not have turned out exactly how I wanted it to, be as strong as this camper, or be laid out how I wanted. I knew the best option for me was just to build my own camper. What I will share with you guys is why it costs so much to build a camper. The actual shell of the camper that everyone sees is actually the cheapest part of the build, so that costs less than doing everything else. So what's expensive? It's all the stuff that's inside. So let's check it out. So what's so expensive about a camper? I'm going to give you guys a few examples of just the prices that it costs, at least in this camper. So these windows, they are double pane acrylic windows, insulated. They're not cheap. So these windows are about $1,200 for both of them. So that's pretty expensive. In my eyes, the windows were an investment for cold Alaskan winters, and it just wasn't a choice. That's what I wanted to do. Adding a fridge, freezer to your camper is not cheap. These are about $600. Not cheap at all. Another necessity if you want to keep food cold and stay on the road a long time. The wood stove, not cheap at all. Once again, a necessity for camping in Alaskan winters though, so I felt like I didn't have a choice. It was just an investment. The spray foam insulation that's in the roof and the walls, down in the floor, was not cheap, worth the investment. The porthole windows and all these little octagon special windows, those were not cheap, but I wanted them for the aesthetics. The Max Air fan also cost a pretty penny. The propane furnace that heats the camper if you're just in a hurry, not cheap. Those are about $700. Well, there you go, guys. That's a wrap. I hope that answered most of the major questions that I've been getting about the camper. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next adventure. Peace, y'all.